He stepped in for them and been really good. So I think the Hornets is a team that could definitely get to that 8th seed. I think they're going to beat the Heat. And then my prediction is that the Sixers are going to beat the Magic. And then I think the Hornets are going to beat the Magic. So
Yeah.
I think the Magic are going to miss the play-in tournament entirely. And the 7th seed is going to be the Sixers, and the 8th seed will be the Hornets.
Yeah, the Magic of all teams, you go out there and you have a chance to avoid the play-in tournament entirely, and then you go up against the Celtics with 8 players. Most of these guys have been going back and forth to the G League. I mean, it took Baylor Shireman until he was 25 years old to get drafted into the NBA, and then he was on a 2-way contract last year, and then he goes for 37 and 7, and it wasn't just any 30. He took 14 threes in this game, and then some of the threes he were hitting were well behind the three-point line. Some of his passes were ridiculous, and then he also is doing it on defense, getting steals, and then you have Luka Garza, who, Brad Stevens casually signed him to $5.8 million for 2 years, fully guaranteed. He goes off for 27 points in this game, 12 rebounds, and then he hits a 3 at the end of the game that looked like it was a Luka Doncic 3, where he just flicks it over the defender at the end of the game. And Jalen Suggs had the audacity to taunt Baylor Shireman at the end of that game, where the Magic, it looked like they were going to pull away and win. I'm like, you're facing a 8-man basically G League roster, and then you lost to Ron Harper Jr., who had 23 points, Baylor Shireman, who had 30, and then Luka Garza had 27. I think Ron Harper Jr. even had more points than that. But all of those players combined make $9 million, and they went for 83 points. Only the mad mind of Brad Stevens could cook that up. There is no way the Orlando Magic, to sum it up, deserve a playoff spot after that performance, especially you're taunting an 8-man roster where it's all backups and you lost that game.
The crazy part is that they entered the second half with a 10-point lead, and the Celtics outscored them 42-20 in the third quarter. Just a complete joke. And then fourth quarter, after the bench players had already been on the bench, they're resting the bench players at this point in the fourth quarter because of how big of a lead they have against the Magic. And it doesn't matter because they're already the 2 seed, and they still lost. They still lost despite the fact that you had Baylor Shireman playing 40 minutes. You had a Ron Harper Jr. playing 40 minutes. You had all these guys playing. They only played 8 players total, and they had 30 minutes from John Tonje. John Tonje got 30 minutes, got 13 points off the bench. You have
Max
Delano
Shulga.
Banton. Delano Banton had 37 minutes, and he's the only player who didn't make a shot, actually, in that game. But Delanto Bannon and John Tonje coming off the bench, and they could not stop them. So the Magic, 100%, do not deserve it, because this is with Paulo Branchero, who's been an All-NBA player. You have Franz Wagner, he's a stud, he's been an All-Star. Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane, all of these guys, nothing. So no, don't get the Magic in the playoffs.
Is that the only explanation for that? Are the Orlando Magic gambling? Because, like, if you had to look at this in reality, like, either you're that bad and you don't deserve a spot in the playoffs, or you're literally just gambling. But why would you want to subject yourself to the play-in tournament? Because, like, you can't be like, well, facing the Pistons and Celtics, we think we have a better matchup than against the Knicks, right? Like,
yeah, why would anybody want to be in the play-in tournament? Because no matter what, like, all 8 of these teams are going to get either swept or lose in 5 in the first round, most likely. Maybe the Sixers can make some noise. Maybe the Hornets can. But everybody else, maybe nobody in the West can make any sort of noise against the Spurs and Thunder. And in the East, if we're lucky, we're going to see a 6-game series from any of the play-in tournament teams. That's it. None of these teams are making it out of the first round.
yeah, I think the Hornets could give the Pistons a tough 6 or 7 games in the first round. But I think the 2 seed, if Joel Embiid is struggling with injuries right now, I don't really think the Philadelphia 76ers have a chance, especially against a rested Boston. It's like Jason Tatum got his chance to get in shape a little bit. Now he gets a week off and he'll come back and be even better coming into the playoffs. And then that really leaves you with the other matchups in the East, which is the Hawks and Knicks. And the interesting thing about the Hawks and the Knicks is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, much like Gildress Alexander-Walker, later in his career is starting to come alive. He's averaging a career high in points this year, and then the total point differential between the 3 games that the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks played this year, 3, about a point per game. So
Oh
these
my
two
God.
teams, while the Knicks have won the season series, have played each other extremely close, and we have seen that flip going into the playoffs before, where you have 2 teams play each other really close. One team gets the edge in the regular season, and then the other team comes into the playoffs and is able to make some noise. And when you look at the Atlanta Hawks, they actually have some really interesting pieces. CJ McCollum is someone who has a lot of playoff experience. They have Gabe Vincent on this team now, who, he's been to the finals with the Miami Heat and those Jimmy Butler teams. And, this Atlanta Hawks team has some good young talent. Quinn Snyder is a solid NBA head coach, and now you have a solid matchup with him and Mike Brown, where this is a series that there's a lot more pressure on the New York Knicks than there is the Atlanta Hawks, because if you're the Knicks, you are thinking finals or bust this year. This is your best opportunity to get to and win a finals. Typically, if you hire a head coach, it's going to be in his first year, or chances of making the finals and winning it after that isn't great. So I do think that the Hawks have a good opportunity for an upset here, but depends on the Knicks.
Yeah, I like to think that the Knicks, between with what they can do on the offensive side of the ball, Jalen Brunson, I've seen him in the playoffs too many times, carry teams to different rounds in the playoffs. With Jalen Brunson, I trust him there. And then I just feel like they have more talent all around. Just their starting lineup alone. You have Cat still. I don't know if the Hawks are going to be able to beat the Knicks. That being said, what they can do is set a warning sign for what the Knicks could be come second round, when I believe they'll be matching up against the Celtics. When they face the Celtics, that's when I feel like all bets are off for them. But against the Hawks, Hawks don't have a really great big man, and they have Karl Anthony Towns there. I feel like he'll be able to take care of business there. But being said, I still think that they can go 6 games. 5 to 6 games, I think, is fair for them.
Yeah, 5 to 6 games. And last year against the New York Knicks, the Detroit Pistons were able to push that series. I have it pulled up here.
6 games.
Yeah, they pushed it 6 games, and, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is playing really good. The real difference in the regular season is that the Knicks just beat them when it came to the glass. They out-rebounded them in this game, and the Hawks, they've been a below average rebounding team this year, but I do think they have an opportunity, especially to have someone like CJ McCollum. And the real weakness for the Knicks has been their bench scoring. So you can get leads against the New York Knicks. The problem is, last time they played the Knicks, the Hawks were leading the whole game, playing well, and then Jalen Brunson goes berserk and gets 17 points in the fourth quarter. So I don't really think that's going to change. And the media has been down on the Knicks this year. Seems like anytime I turn on the game, it's like they have a hard on for just hating on Karl Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks, talking about Josh Hart's poor shooting performance over the past few weeks. But the Knicks are just one of those teams that's going to be like, there's a big difference between the regular season and when playoff time comes around. And the Knicks have been through so many playoff battles over the past few years. They have the experience, especially with Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, then Robinson off the bench. Like, this is still a really good team, and you still have Mikal Bridges there. That I do think that the drama in the regular season was overhyped, and it could just be chalked up to them being bored, to be honest.
Yeah, and we see that often. What I will say is, over the last 2 years, the 3 and 6 seeds are 6 and 6 against each other in the playoffs in the East, because we had the Pacers. They beat the Bucks a few years back, and then the Knicks got pushed to 6 games against the Pistons last year. So we've seen these games get pretty close of late. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that this game goes 6. I still think the Knicks beat them in 6, and they advance against the Celtics.
Yeah. X factor for the Hawks definitely be CJ McCollum, and then I think someone like for the Knicks, you have to have Jose Alvarado step up for you. If Alvarado goes beast mode off the bench, but the problem with the Knicks is, are they going to get any scoring from their bench?
Yeah, and that's the big weakness with the Knicks right now. Their bench is very weak. I know last year Landry Shamet stepped up for them quite a bit. Josh Hart also was averaging like 15 rebounds a game in their last run, which helped him a lot. And also, can Jalen Brunson maintain his scoring output? Because the last two title runs that they've had, Jalen Brunson's been averaging over 30 for the most part. So can that continue? I believe he can. I think he's a stud in the postseason.